how does animal assisted therapy work for children on the autism spectrum?
So in a lot of children on the spectrum where they find difficulty in making connections, when oxytocin is generated, their bonding with the dog is the first safest way of practicing those social connections that they can't with another human being.
Yes.
We can never say that there's only one benefit that is working at a time. There is sensory integration happening, there is sensory exploration happening, there is regulation happening. Okay, there is a lot of calming down. So a lot of children who can regulate, they have a skill that if I'm feeling anxious, I need to go to Rio.
So then they have understood that yes, I am anxious now.
Yes.
They're able to identify.
Yes.
When we talk about therapy has very well defined goals. There are objectives, there are broader goals, there are narrower objectives, there are even narrower outcomes per session.
Because a friendly dog can be friendly to a certain extent. Again, what works with animals in this context, and especially while working with children with autism, animals do not need words for communication. A lot of things that the animal communicates with the child and what the child communicates with the animal happen at a very non-verbal level, subtle level. So even a non-verbal child will be able to connect with an animal and communicate with an animal in ways that we have not even yet worked on.
So welcome both of you to the Dolly Show today. We are truly honored to have you both, and an amazing topic that we are going to discuss, a new set of therapies and new experiences, a lot of things that we're going to discuss. So before that, let me introduce you to my guests. We have Meenal ma'am here, who is an animal assisted therapist, and we have Manjushri ma'am here, who is the director of Atman. And both of them will give their details in depth. So yes, welcome both of you. And let's start first with Meenal ma'am. Ma'am, we would love to know your journey, and then ma'am, let's come to you. Yes ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Meenal Kavishwar, and I'm the founder of Animal Angels. Animal Angels is India's one of its kind organization that promotes the mental health and physical health benefits of the human-animal relationship. And we conduct many programs around the concept of human-animal relationship. I run Animal Angels Therapy Center, which is my professional setup, where we have teams of counselors, therapists, and other health professionals who work with our team of trained therapy dogs. And we conduct various activities or various programs in schools, hospitals, corporates, airports, like multitude of, sectors within mental and medical health. And then we also run Animal Angels Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that caters to those people who do not have access to mental health programs or even animal therapy. Because, animal therapy anyway is a very new concept, which anyway is a little far away, but the first requirement is mental health services. So there are many people in our society who do not have access to mental health services, let alone animal therapy. So through Animal Angels Foundation, our objective is that only people who have pets or people who can afford animal therapy should not be the group of people availing the benefit of this, and should reach out to all people who would need animal therapy. And that's the reason Animal Angels Foundation ties up with pet parents and our team of therapists and counselors who volunteer to reach out to those people who may not be able to access this therapy. So together, through Animal Angels Therapy Center and Foundation, we reach out. Our objective is to reach out to a wide segment of people and bring them together and bring them to the awareness of how the human-animal relationship and also that it is mutually beneficial. That it's not just beneficial for the human, the animals also benefit out of it. So what is the best way that we can work together for our mutual health? So that's what we do at Animal Angels.
We will definitely talk in depth about this because I need to know lots more about it. Yes, over to you, ma'am.
Hi. So thanks for having us over here. It's wonderful to be part of the Autism Connect family now. I think I'm already feeling like
Yes.
family, having had lovely conversations with you. So my name is Manjushri Patil, and I'm the founder and director of Atman Academy. Atman Academy is a customized learning, specialized instruction, alternative school-based program which is very inclusive. And so, for starters, one of the things that, in fact, I did it during my one of my first TEDx talks, I redefined inclusion, and I said inclusion is really not about neurodivergent or neurotypical. It's not about abilities and disabilities. It's about diverse people coming together, respecting each other, and working in a dignified way towards a common purpose, a common goal. It could be education, it could be work, it could be whatever. So, with that definition in mind, we call ourselves an inclusive program because we have all different kinds of learners, and that's what makes us inclusive, and all of them are respected, loved, valued for who they are. So we've with God's grace, we are now entering our 15th academic year. We've completed founded on 10th of October 2010, so we are already in our 15th foundation year, and we are starting our 15th academic year this year in June. It's been a beautiful, long, obviously arduous journey. It's been full of its challenges, but who's scared of challenges? Be unstoppable, really speaking. So we've been catering to all kinds of learners, and we've had 13 batches of grade 10 that have passed out through external candidature through SSC board. This year our 13th batch passed out, and our alumni are doing extremely well. And we are a mixed group. When I say mixed group, we started out essentially, when we started out, we were working more towards, for kids with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, intellectually challenged, maybe slow at learning, and children with ADHD, ADD, who were not able to get what they needed in mainstream schools. So I used to be the principal of an IGCSE school myself. So I know schools and school principals are very well-meaning. Nobody doesn't want to help. It's not people don't want to help, but we've got to understand. I always say, if you want to eat Chinese, you need to go to a Chinese restaurant. You can't sit in a vada pav center and say, "Bhai, Chinese do." That kind of thing. So that's a specialized need that we cater to. And apart from running this school-based program, we are also running a couple of other projects, which is, one of them is called AVA, which is Atman Academy's vocational activity, which caters to pre-vocational, vocational related, life skills related, living and independent living related skills that we develop in young adults with intellectual disabilities and autism. So that's one program. We also have something called ADI, which is on the other side, which is for very young learners. So we call it Atman Academy's Diversity Inclusion Program. And we have that program to make kids school ready, so that they can be with us. They have the sitting tenacity, the focus, the attention. We do a lot of such work that they can be ready to go to school, so that schools can better handle them, mainstream schools. That's our second program. The third thing that we are doing is we're running a course on inclusive education, which we're running for the last 8 years. 8 years, may say, last 5 years we've been running it online for obvious reasons after COVID, but because we saw that our reach is much higher, because since we started running it online, we've now reached 6 countries, almost 22 states and 6 countries across the world. So this is a certificate course on inclusive education, one of its kind, which we are running with support and association from the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. So that's the course that we are running. And the last thing that which I would love to share here, is that we also have a very, very unique program on inclusion that was part of my Fulbright research program. In fact, that was awarded the Global Teacher Grant last year. I was the only one from India who was awarded that grant. And that just got done with a pilot, and now it's going big. It's a program that's like a precursor to the course. We realize that you have to have a buy-in from all stakeholders within an organization, not just a school or a college, even corporates. So the Didi, the Mausi, the watchman, the peon, the principal in the school setup, everybody has to be speaking the same language, singing the same song. And for that to happen, I created a program called iSeed, that is Inclusive Stakeholders Embrace All Diversities. It's a DIY program that we are now rolling out big time. So lots of different things that we are doing.
Fabulous.
I think it's just God's grace that things happen, and you just need to be available and give your 5,000%, 10,000, or maybe even more.
More.
Yes, to that.
Wow, that is truly inspiring. And yes, so in pertaining to what we have spoken, we'll have a lot of conversations further as well. So yeah, before that, let's get back to you, ma'am. So from you first, I would love to know what is animal assisted therapy and how does it work for children on the autism spectrum?
So, if you've ever been around a pet, or if you've ever been a pet owner, pet parent, okay, yes, there are a lot of people who may not have experienced that till now. But for those, say listeners or viewers who have ever experienced or had any positive encounter with a pet, you would know. Like even right now, when we are able to hear the chirping of the
I was
birds
just going to say, it just feels so good.
it feels good. So somewhere we are innately wired to feeling good when there are animals and birds or nature around us, which is at a calm state. We will be disturbed if we see that there are no birds around.
Correct.
We will be disturbed if the dogs around are not feeling safe. It's a very subtle psychological connection that we have with the nature around us. We rely on cues from nature to make us feel safe, right? And this becomes the base of what we do along with traditional methods of counseling, psychology, or any other mental health programs, right? So the basic part that we have an innate ability to connect with animals and nature around us becomes the base of this. Then comes the part that it's mutually benefiting. That it is not just us that we are benefiting from the nature and animals around us, but they are also benefiting from us. That is why animals come to us. They seek out interaction, right? We have pets at home, but the pet also has a choice whether they want to interact with us or not, right? So a mutually benefiting relationship where the animal that we work with is trained to a level of being a professional, where the things that he does for people at home, for example, when you have a pet, you will come home tired, okay, and you will come home exhausted and you're like, cranky or you're upset. But you look at the pet, or the pet comes and greets you, and all those worries melt away.
Magic wand.
Literally. So, or someone is not feeling well, the animal will constantly be on the side. So this is something that every pet parent has experienced at some or the other time. Or even those who don't have pet would have had some encounters where you feel good when a pet acknowledges you, looks at you, wags tail, or licks you. Right? So that feel good factor is what every pet will give to their pet parent or their family. But therapy dogs or therapy animals are trained to the level of professionalism where they can give the same unconditional love and acceptance to many people. Someone that they don't know or they don't belong to their family. And when this unconditional acceptance and love is combined with the skills of a professional therapist or a counselor or a special educator or a speech therapist, that becomes animal assisted therapy.
It's magic.
So, yeah. So it's magic and professionalism.
I was saying the combination of these things coming together has an alchemy of another
Yes,
level.
it works very well.
Yes, definitely.
So animal therapy is a professional field where trained therapy animals are incorporated in any specific mental or medical health practice. Okay, for example, I'm a psychologist. When I incorporate therapy dogs in my practice, it is animal therapy. Similarly, if a speech therapist incorporates a therapy dog in the speech therapy practice, that will be also animal therapy.
So as a special educator incorporating it?
Yes.
That leveraging the presence of an animal for, say, reading, for spelling, for whatever, for math.
Yes, so that is animal assisted therapy. Now, a lot of people use the term animal therapy in a very loosely, or what do you say? A
Frivolous
way. So even going to a pet cafe and meeting dogs over there is also called as animal therapy or pet therapy. Okay, so the main thing here is for people to realize that there's a difference between what you can term as therapy and what you can just term as positive human-animal interaction. When anyone says therapy, you have to understand that it has to be facilitated by a trained professional.
Correct.
Just going and meeting dogs is definitely going to be beneficial for you. But do not call it therapy because it is not facilitated by a trained therapist.
Yes.
Because it is not, because the participating animal is not a trained and certified professional therapy dog.
Correct.
So these are the nuances that people now have to be aware of.
Just like music also, a lot of people, music may be therapeutic for
Yes,
you,
absolutely.
but music therapy is a different ball game altogether. It's a strong science. It's a stream by itself.
Yeah.
You can't just loosely call anything music therapy.
Exactly.
Therapeutic लगता है, you feel good about it when you listen to certain music. That's understandable.
understandable.
Correct.
So we always give an example of like, if you have a problem, you speak to your friend, you get together over a cup of coffee, you speak your heart out and you feel good. But that doesn't equate to counseling.
Correct.
Where you need counseling, you have to go to a counselor.
True.
Similarly, Dadi ke nuske is it's always worked. But you still need to go to a doctor. And by a doctor, you will always see whether the doctor is qualified, specialized in the work. Similarly, animal therapy also has to be looked at from that angle and practiced with that angle in an ethical format, where the person who is facilitating the therapy is a therapist first.
Correct.
Okay, then the animal is also trained and certified for this work. Then the team together is trained to work together. Because the animal is not a therapist on his own.
Yes.
The animal is always a co-therapist. That is why it is called animal assisted therapy. So that's what we do in brief. That this is what animal therapy is. And then there are different formats. There is always animal assisted activity, which is the non-therapeutic format, which will also have therapeutic benefit, but need not be in a strict structure of the therapy process. Right? So we do a lot of programs around reading. We will discuss that in detail. But one of our very popular programs is Tales of Joy, which is a program where children read out to dogs.
Tales, T-A-I-L-S, not T-A-L, but pun intended. T-A-L-E-S, T-A-I-L-S.
So where children read out to dogs. And again, the concept here is that animals are not judgmental. Right? If a child makes a mistake while reading, or stumbles, or is finding it difficult to break down a spelling, then the dog is not going to laugh or point
or judge
mistakes or even frown. Like there are so many subtle things that affect children. Like when you're reading, even if you say then the child will have that inhibition. That maybe I'm not good at
What
doing
did I
this.
do?
What did I
do?
I have done something wrong.
Or a frown or a all these things matter to a child who is learning to read or who is not like at the same level of other children in picking up skills of reading. But when they read out to a dog, the dog is not going to make any sounds, judgmental sounds or frowns or like anything, and is just going to be there to support the child in his pace of picking up the skills of reading or learning. And this, again, can be combined with a therapist or a special educator to give more specific benefits, or can be done as a fun activity program also focused on helping children read out loud or feel confident while reading. So we do these programs in schools, libraries, bookstores like Crossword, etc., where, more children are encouraged to pick up reading out aloud as
so it's just an activity. Whereas, when we talk about therapy has very well defined goals. There are objectives, there are broader goals, there are narrower objectives, there are even narrower outcomes per session or per 10 minutes that they're working. So those outcomes are like guidelines and milestones for us to know that yes, the therapy work being done is going in the right direction.
Yes, it'll go on as any other therapeutic format where there is a pre-evaluation, post-evaluation, where you measure the progress that is done. The only difference is that the animal is our co-therapist. Right. So if me and Manjushri were working as co-therapist on some program, she would be one therapist and I would be one therapist. It would be structured in the same.
Instead of Manjushri, there's Rio.
So Manjushri working with Rio, which is
we will have this question for sure, because we need to know in detail this. We're just
Rio?
talking. Yes. So yeah, if you could just answer, how does animal assisted therapy work for children on the autism spectrum? Then we.
So firstly, I'll just explain a little bit more about therapy dogs and how are they different from regular dogs or regular pets.
Yes.
So therapy dogs are again, like for me to be in this profession as a human, I'm required to have certain characteristics, okay, certain skills which can be trained, but certain characteristics which have to be innately in me to be able to work in this field, right? So in dogs also we look for the same thing. There are certain skills which the dog can be trained for, but there are certain characteristics which have to come within, naturally in the dog. For example, the dog wanting to be around humans, the dog wanting attention, or the dog being okay with being in new settings with around new people at all times. A dog being okay with loud noises, with children screaming, with children, patting the dog, vigorously or grabbing the fur. So these are not things that a normal dog or a normal, even a pet at home.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe if the dog is growing up with children, the dog would experience all of this. But
not
it doesn't
to such
always mean that the dog is going to be okay with it, right? So therapy dogs are trained in a way to understand the difference between a threat and between what the child is doing as a normal behavior in the child, right? And being a non-judgmental entity, again, dogs understand this in a very, instinctively, yes, without even telling them what needs to be done with the child. But that is a aspect of personality. Not all dogs can do that. This instinctively understanding of which child or hitting me I should tolerate, because this child has some, differences that I need to be aware of. This is an innate ability in apps, actually in all dogs. But just like all dogs cannot be sniffer dogs, all friendly dogs cannot be therapy dogs.
So you have to choose as well. So
yes. And so that's where I want to pitch this in here, that's where their expertise lies.
Yeah.
To be able to identify right from the time that they're pups. I know that when we got our little dog boy home through Akash, through Animal Angels itself, he just held him close and he told me, just go ahead, he's right. Of course, he had his markers in place, those that measurable markers. But at that time, I didn't ask him that. I was all about becoming a pet parent. But he says, he's the right fellow. Just go ahead, let's have him home. We were adopting. So, because that temperament, that inherent, intrinsic temperament to be able to be a therapy dog. She beautifully phrased it that all friendly dogs can't be therapy dogs.
So a lot of people assume that, therapy dogs, yes, they need to be friendly, they need to be outgoing, they need to be comfortable and confident, very importantly. But not all friendly dogs can be therapy dogs, right? Because a friendly dog can be friendly to a certain extent. If the friendly dog can be friendly in all instances, in all situations, then yes, that friendly dog can qualify to be trained further as a therapy dog, right? We also look at confidence, because the level of confidence that these therapy dogs need to have walking into a room full of children with special needs, it's not an easy thing for a dog too, right? What works with animals in this context, especially while working with children with autism, is that animals do not need words for communication, right? A lot of things that the animal communicates with the child and what the child communicates with the animal happens at a very non-verbal level, subtle level. So even a non-verbal child will be able to connect with an animal and communicate with an animal in ways that we have not even yet worked on, right? We always say, we were talking about labeling. So we always label children as non-verbal. Those who don't speak are non-verbal children. But what happens when that same child is talking to the dog, giving commands to the dog, and the dog is understanding what the child needs, and all of this is happening non-verbally? The dog is also non-verbal. But a lot of communication can happen non-verbally and through body language, through intentions, through understanding. This is where animals help us. This is where, as human therapists, we fall short. Right? And of course, with autism, this works wonderfully, even in counseling. When we work in individual counseling setups, there are so many cues that are happening underlying, like shift in intentions, emotional fluctuations are happening, or sudden epiphany happening to the client. But dog notices all of that. As humans, we have no organs to perceive all of this. Right? So this is where the therapy dog comes into play, or this is where the dog as a therapist will respond to certain things that are happening with the with the person that we are working with, and the dog will either let us know or will directly respond to that person. So if there is a child who is non-verbal, who is not able to tell us that his needs are sensory or that he's overstimulated, okay, but the dog will pick up on that, and the dog will just go and sit in front of the child, and the child will start massaging the dog, or playing with the dog's fur. And again, as a trained therapist, we understand that, okay, the child right now needs some calming down through the sensory perception that he's getting from the dog. The dog has already perceived this and responded to that need.
So they know exactly when to sit, how to sit. So whether they're sitting like this, whether they're sitting like this,
Yes.
or whether they're lying completely on the sides, or whether they have to sit like this between their two. Every position, as therapists, they know what it is.
What it
signifies.
Yes. And again, it works both ways. Like sometimes we have to guide the dog to sit in a particular position with the child. Sometimes the dog does it on its own. Not sometimes. I think many a times it is the dog responding on his own to, like instinctively, to the needs of the child that we are working with. And as therapists, then our role is to facilitate, right? Facilitate based on goals. And then take that activity further each step, so that whether it is eye contact, whether it is social skills, whether it is verbalization, right? There are a lot of children who have been labeled non-verbal, whose first words were the name of the dog.
Yes, correct.
So sometimes it also happens that there are certain children who will never speak, but there are children who may have not had the urge to speak. That is also true.
And the dog kicks
the
that
dog,
urge
they
in.
don't
Yeah,
want-
it kicks it in.
The dog brings it out in them,
Indeed.
right? So many a times the first words of the child have been the name of the dog.
Yes.
And then building upon that, that maybe the toy of the dog, the leash of the dog, then we add on more vocabulary for the child. So every case is different, every child is different, right? But this is the way in which the animal brings out certain things in the child that as therapists we may not even recognize. That's the beauty of having an animal to work with.
Wow.
I can never imagine not working with an animal. Then after working, it's been 22 years for me also working in this field. And every new animal that I work with, it's not just dogs, we work with cats, horses, rabbits, fish, right? So
This we will talk about.
Yeah.
Before that, in connection with what you spoke. So we now got the theory part from Meenal ma'am. I would love to know your practical knowledge, because we know for sure that at Atman, you all have used animal-assisted therapy for children. So we did get the theory part of it. Now I want to know the practical. So how does it work in the setup?
So let me first start with telling you that for us, it was a dream come true, because for the longest of time, being a special educator myself, I knew the power of alternative therapies. Truth be told, I knew they actually do a lot more. I've been using the word magic, but truly there is a lot more that can be achieved through these alternative approaches, because they are not geared towards a single point agenda of academic work. They bring out a lot many more flavors, and they help the child actually discover themselves. A child discovers herself or himself through these alternative approaches. So be it dance movement therapy, be it creative arts therapy, be it art-based therapy, be it animal-assisted therapy, music therapy, drum therapy. We wanted to bring in all of these approaches and make them part of the deliverables for every child at Atman Academy, which is why we are such a unique setup in that sense. And we never cut corners. It's not like we reduce the number of sessions for other children. Everybody gets those sessions for the time that they are with us at Atman. With animal-assisted therapy, I was first introduced to it because about 10 years ago, I met Akash. And that's when I got to know. I knew about it, I'd been reading about it, but it wasn't an active thought at that point. I didn't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
And when I first met him, I badgered him for 2 years, saying, Akash, I want a dog, I want. And he knew. And by then, the number of times that I badgered him, he knew that I wanted a little boy for myself, for home. Boy, I kept saying, because I didn't know whether I was going to be able to manage a girl pet. So, boy was one thing. And I kept telling him, I want someone who has a temperament to come with me to school every day. So we waited, and when that finally happened, we adopted Rio, who's so I keep telling all through my fellowships abroad and wherever I was, I keep saying, I have 2 sons. One has a tail, one doesn't have a tail. so now I live only with the one who has a tail. The other one is obviously empty nest. He's doing his so anyway, Rio came to us about 7 years ago. And from then on, as soon as he came in, Akash started coaching him. And we were very clear that we were going to leverage Rio's presence to do whatever we could to ensure children's learning is made smoother, easier, happier, more joyful, all of that. And the training went on so beautifully, and I'd love to say this here, So we had this 9-10 months later, Rio got his harness, which read the therapy dog. Okay,
Yes. That's their graduation.
When they graduate. So it was a graduation day, and he got graduated, and he wrote. Cute. And we had this kid who had we had many kids, bright kid, and she looked at Rio's harness and she read, "The rapey dog." No. It's like, no, not rapey, beta. It's therapy dog. So from then on, we keep saying the rapey dog. We keep laughing for that. But that is where the joy of having Rio on board was, he's just available. He comes to school with me every day, every single day. In fact, the 5 months that I was off campus for my Fulbright Fellowship program, nobody missed me. But when I arrived, and they had thal wal leke, they were saying hello to me. Everybody's like, Rio kidhar hai? Ma'am, where is Rio? Ma'am, where is Rio? Nobody is hello, मैं आई हूँ ना 5 महीने के बाद. छोड़ो, Rio कहाँ है? So he's most loved, most weighted soul on the campus over there, and just his presence. Leave the therapy part, leave the animal assisted activity part. वो तो बात की बात है. Just having him on campus from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the evening, or through the time that they are on campus, it's amazing. It just changes the entire vibe in the place. It completely does. And so what we essentially do is, now we have our planned program, structured program, and it's been going on ever since, So 2018 Rio came, and barring the 1 or 2 years of COVID, we have been having a structured program in which animal assisted therapy is made available to every single child on campus.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Every single child, irrespective of their fears that they may have. And I can safely, and to the point of sounding smug, say that we've had conversions.
Yes.
Kids who were mortally petrified of dogs have just changed, transformed, not
Even
changed.
teachers.
Therapists. Teachers.
Yes.
I've had a teacher, my own core team member. She was petrified of dogs. So when we said we're going to have a dog, she said, "My God, now how will we have our meetings?" And she, like, for my core team, I said, "See, don't worry, we'll figure that out. You don't want him, we'll not have him." Now that fellow goes and he sticks to her. He knows she's the best bet around. He goes and sticks to her and sleeps near her legs.
Yeah. He's also a core team member.
Yeah, he's also a core team member. Of course, some uncle in my society calls him Professor Rio. "Oh, Professor Rio, so you are off to school, Professor." I said, "Uncle, isn't that a little bit too much calling you Professor Rio?" He goes with that full panache in the morning, walks to school every. And school चले हम इतना ही बोलना है तो बस वो पूरा दल बदल देता है. He's Papa's pet, but in the morning he is only about Ma.
So they will understand, like, Rio is one of the many in-house pets that we have, which live with the either principal or the primary person who is working at the school, and literally they understand when you're getting ready whether it is to go to school or whether it is to go somewhere else.
Correct.
So she will be able to vouch this, that if she's going out for a meeting and she's not taking
He
Rio,
senses
he will
it.
know that.
He senses it.
But if she's going to school and if she is not yet said till Rio, then he will be anxious that when are you taking me?
And when are you going to say that statement? Because I think I haven't heard you saying it by now, but I know you're going to school.
So-
Chalo.
Yeah, so they are able to distinguish between when the person is getting ready to go out and going to school, and they're so eager to go to school. That is the sign that the therapy dog loves the job that he's doing and is willingly participating in. We always stress on the part willingly participating because therapy dogs are not used for therapy, wrong term to be used. Secondly, they are not props that okay, dog ko dekho, dog ko haath lagao, you'll feel. No. They are equal participants in therapy where they're willingly there. They understand their purpose of being in that setting and what to do with the child or what to do with the therapist. So they know exactly what their role is, what their job is. And Rio knows what he's supposed to do going to school. And he's looking forward for that every day when she takes him to school.
Just as much as all the others, because there are, alongside of Rio, we have other dogs as well, because children need variety, okay? Then they ask for others also. So we have Gingy, then we have Joey. We have so many others also who come and there are two of them sitting in the therapy session. Yeah, happily they're there, and kids love having a variety of 2-3 people. Uno is there, of course, yes.
So from both of you, one each, I would love to know one experience that has been impactful, or however you call it.
So what comes to my mind, top of my mind, is in fact I happen to even use this episode during my TEDx talk, but I'm going to be telling you the next part of that experience. So there's this child who when Rio came to school for the first time in July 2018, he was terrified of dogs. And the first thing he says, now how will I come to your room? Now how will I come to school? I'm very scared. The next thing he says, but I want to learn to not be scared of dogs. He told this to Akash. You are going to teach me, and he also had a stammer, you're going to teach me how to not be scared of dogs. Akash said, sure, I will do that. The day Rio came to school first time, I told him that Rio is coming. The day he actually came to school, because his vaccinations and all got done. So by the time he came home and by the time he came to school, it was still 2 weeks later. So we were prepping up the kids that there's going to be a dog on campus. The day he came to school, that day by 3:30, this boy had got me a beautiful picture of Rio that he had drawn. I have it with me. I can show it to you. And on a green color paper, he'd drawn, and he says, "This is for Rio."
Oh my God!
And he gave this to me through my window in my office. I have this long window, and he gave it to me. He said, "I will not touch him right now, but this is for Rio." Cut to 3 years later, when he passed his 10th. Through that journey of being with Rio, so 2018 to 19, 19 to 20, unfortunately 20 ke baad bhi good, but those 2 years of actually being with Rio, not just did he overcome his fear of being around animals, through the sessions, he overcame his biggest fear called math. Because Akash leveraged Rio's support to bring him to start being around maths and not be scared of it. It happened to the extent that he scored beautifully in his 10th standard, albeit the lower level maths because he had dyslexia and dyscalculia, but his fear, and he says it even today, he says, my fear has gone away. And that is really and only because of Rio. And now, so when he comes, meets Rio, he can pull his tail, he can do this to him, pull his ears, and he's like one absolute fearless fellow with Rio. Rio around, and he says, now I'm not scared of dogs. Such a big thing, just by his mere presence. At another time, I was just not on this thing, but I was on a call, and it was a really important call. There's this girl who came into my cabin, and my cabin is always open, so she came. I thought I told her, this girl of 7th standard, I told her, she didn't even give me eye contact. Rio was sitting down on the side of my table. She sat down I'm busy talking on the phone. I finished my call and I looked at her. I said, "Wow, what? No, it's okay. I have told Rio what I have to tell." She told Rio and she went away. Superb.
Professional was working.
Exactly. This professional, that professional. One professional was available. If you're not available, I found somebody else to tell what I had to. She'd come with an artwork. And she told him, and she's telling him in Marathi, da 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 da, and I've done this, and this is why I've drawn it. And she must have told him all of that. Itna kuch maine nahi suna, because I was on a call. Rio listened to her, and she cuddled him and she left. Even today, my door is open. Children just come, sleep on Rio completely, and then I don't say a word. I'm doing my thing, and they get up and they leave. That's it. They only need his vibe. Or they come, they sit around him. I mean, I have photographs when I'm sitting, because I do these little candid photographs. This kid came, sat in front of Rio, spoke with him, whispered. Full blown child with autism. Sat talking.
So do they just calm down?
Yeah.
What is the effect?
Yeah, so they
does that?
sent also for Rio time. So Rio time has become like a brownie point that they get. Do you want Rio time? Yes. Just finish this quickly, then Rio will be there for you, because Rio is always available. So I have multiple such experiences with
So if I can just elaborate a little on this, now this love for Rio is obviously there. When you say leveraging, this is actually combining the traditional forms of therapy with the bond that the children have formed with the dog. So when we talk about behavior therapy, this is what behavior therapy does. Or even further, when we go to cognitive behavior therapy, this is what it's the live demonstration of that. Right? So when children say perform a task and then they ask for Rio time, that time with Rio itself is a reward.
Yeah.
Or if they are finishing something, like if they're doing maths and if they are if they have to count or calculate, and those number of treats are given to the dog. So it becomes an activity that is based on the bond that they have, but it is also a reward that they get for their behavior. Okay, and this reward is not like an outright reward. It is enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is not given as a star or as a reward. So that wanting to get that reward more comes out of more behavior modification, which happens very naturally. You do not need to set targets. It will come as because I want to be a part of Rio's life, or because I want to spend time with Rio,
Or I want Rio to be part of my life. Both ways,
That's where the behavior modification comes in. So it is a very beautiful blend of traditional therapy and how the bond with the dog helps or motivates children to reach their goal. And this is exactly where a professional is required to facilitate that. Okay, the bond is developed. The children want to spend time with Rio. Now, how do you combine it with actual goals so that the child makes progress and the child is also able to benefit out of that.
Streamlining it so that it's not free for all, and so then the value diminishes. If it's just all the time there, then the value diminishes. So we have to also, we have to calibrate that. We have to measure it out, and we have to be mindful of the fact that you can't just give Rio's time away like this free to anybody, and then they don't feel the need for driving themselves for Rio.
So what I would like to
the essence of animal assisted therapy is
no. So then what will happen is it's the positive effect of having an animal on campus.
Yeah,
it will be limited to that.
Correct.
But it will not be therapy.
Correct. That's
the difference. Akash Lonkar, who's also the co-founder of Animal Angels Foundation. So he is the one who manages the Bombay division of Animal Angels, and he is a primary. He's one of our chief therapy dog trainers who trains teams of therapy dogs, evaluate therapy dogs, and sets up programs in schools and other institutes. And he has been the one who has trained Rio for Atman and set up the program, entire school program of Atman in the category of animal assisted education, as we call it.
Wow. And we will definitely be having him in our next session.
Oh, yes. Lovely. Absolutely. Okay, so now continuing with what she has mentioned, that children feel calm in the presence of Rio, or when they feel anxious or when they need to share something with someone, and Rio is in the office, or when Manjushri is, say, busy in her work, all they need is that some time with Rio. And they go back feeling, refreshed, or maybe, yes, whatever they had come to seek resolution of has already been resolved. So as I mentioned, dogs do not need words to communicate. Okay, they understand emotions, they understand intentions, right? So children who come seeking that kind of emotion, sometimes what they need is just, okay, somebody be there with me. Or I need attention from another person. Okay, or I need acknowledgement of what I have even tried to do. But they may not have the words, or they may not have the skills of expressing this. Right? That is where that gap between children on the spectrum and the society. Everything from family to school setup to friend setup. Everywhere that gap comes. But when they get a chance to have the same conversation with an animal, they do not fall short of words because they don't need words. The dog picks up on the intention, the dog picks up on their emotions, their needs, responds to it. So a child who wants to say something to the dog does not necessarily utter the words, will just sit there, pet the dog, show whatever he wants to show, get the acknowledgement by the dog being there, being in that unconditional presence. Okay, and that need is fulfilled. When they have sensory need, they will go, they will pet the dog, cuddle the dog, explore the fur. Okay, that sensory need is fulfilled. The dog is there unconditionally, right? Not judging whether it is too harsh. Again, these dogs are trained to sustain that kind of touch. So it cannot be attempted with any random dog. This can be done only with therapy dogs under supervision. But yes, these children do come to seek that sensory need that they have. Okay, again, when they get outlet to that sensory need, if it is causing them anxiety, that anxiety also calms down.
Like I said, he came and slept on the dog.
Yes,
because
that itself is such a wonderful activity.
One senior kid who passed out his grade 10 this year, he used to come to my door saying, "Can I can on the spectrum. I want to come and be with Rio. I am feeling very anxious." So he would just come, sit with Rio on the floor, and just by virtue of having an opportunity to sleep on Rio on the floor on his back was calming for him. That's it. And he used to articulate it, saying that I'm feeling anxious and I want Rio to bring down my actually in so many words.
So this is one step forward where the child was able to articulate his need and get it from the dog. But there are many children on the spectrum who may not be able to articulate that, but still the dog will pick up on that and give the child what they need. For example, if the child needs a hug, or is seeking out that physical contact, as therapists we can't, with. Yes, sometimes the children with autism we can give that touch, but as counselors we are trained not to use touch in the therapeutic process. The animal has no boundaries, right? So a child who needs that physical contact will hug the dog. The dog will immediately go in the position where he will be comfortable and the child will be comfortable hugging. If the dog senses that the child needs to put his head on the dog, then the dog will go down in that position of the lie down position, and then the child will put his hands. Okay, again, there is a scientific basis to that. We've been using the word magic, but this is not just magic. It seems like magic, but there are actually scientific studies or scientific bases which can be measurable, which are measurable. There are many research articles presented on this of what happens internally when we interact with dogs, right? So basically, all our emotions, and we are governed by our hormones and pheromones, right? All our emotions are outward expressions of what is happening internally.
Correct.
Right? So whether it's a child on spectrum or whether it's a person working in an office, if you are stressed out, your adrenaline is up, and your stress hormones are up. When you interact with animals, the feel of their fur, generates the positive hormones or the happy hormones within us. This is the scientific basis of that. So you've all heard of oxytocin. Okay, it is not just the happy hormone, but it is actually a hormone essential for bonding. Right. So in a lot of children on the spectrum where they find difficulty in making connections or relating to another person, when oxytocin is generated, their bonding with the dog is the first safest way of practicing those social connections that they can't with another human being.
Yes.
Right? Oxytocin, when it is increased, adrenaline goes down. You know, your dopamine levels are hit. You know, so all these levels kind of are impacted because of your interaction with dog. Again, when I say interaction, it is positive interaction. If a dog is chasing you, that is not going to lower. Adrenaline. Right? So the touch and the feel of the dog. We do a particular activity where when the child is lying down on the dog, we ask the child to put their hands on the stomach of the dog or on the chest of the dog
belly and chest.
and match your breathing with the dog. Now, this is bioregulation or biofeedback. What we are now researching on, where say if there's a monitor monitoring your BP or your sugar levels, you will be aware of it and you'll be better able to control it. So if there is a lot of palpitation, a lot of anxiety, a lot of hyperactivity, right, a lot of jitteriness, which is very common in children on the spectrum, we ask them to do this. If you just ask the child to calm down, the child has no resources to do that. But when we ask them to put their hands on the dog's belly,
It's tangible.
Yes, and when the dog is breathing and when his tummy is going up and down, and we ask them to just focus on that, you know, you don't need to say anything else. You will automatically see the child calming down, grounded. It's co-regulation. So animals are masters in co-regulation. It is an essential survival skill for all animals. Right? So this, when combined with again the therapeutic goal and the facilitation of a therapist, will help that skill of an animal or that uniqueness of an animal to be able to co-regulate, benefiting a child on the spectrum to lower down his hyperactivity, lower down his anxiety, give him the sensory, the facility to explore. You know, again, the dog, we call it as a multi-sensory package, right? Mostly in sensory integration therapy, you have these different patches of different textures. The dog itself is like a package of different textures. The soft fur or the rough fur, like different dogs will have different kinds of fur. The nose is
the
wet.
underbelly, the nose that is wet, the inside of the ears. It's very different. The texture is very different. The ears, the way, because it's cartilaginous, so that you can do this to the ears.
I can just imagine, ma'am.
Cats also, for that matter.
Yeah, we
they are
need to
so
discuss
cute.
that as well.
I mean, dogs as in dogs, cats, whatever animals that are being used.
But all animals
All
have this
animals.
innate ability. Of,
Rabbits, like she said.
Yeah.
Rabbits must be so fun.
Yeah, I know. We recently had a program, summer camp with rabbits.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So
So,
they're so furry and soft.
Yeah.
Different.
so this co-regulation works, and like I said, we can never say that there's only one benefit that is working at a time. If we take the example of the same activity of lying down on the dog and matching the rhythm of the breathing, okay, as a way of relaxation, at the same time there is sensory integration happening, there is sensory exploration happening, there is regulation happening.
Yes.
Okay, there is a lot of calming down, the effect that happens because of the dopamine hit and because of the oxytocin that is happening. You're teaching skills to the child of what to do when you are feeling anxious the next time. So a lot of children who can regulate, or now who come to you seeking that calming sensation from the dog, have they have a skill that if I'm feeling anxious, I need to go to Rio.
So then they have understood that yes, I am anxious now.
Yes.
They're able to identify.
Yes.
So some children may not be able to voice it out, but they will still be able to seek out. So that skill is there with them. Those who can articulate, like she mentioned, I need time with Rio.
Because I
Yes.
am anxious.
And again, to very briefly help you understand how children with autism benefit from interacting with therapy animals, is that animals become a safe model of our social setting, the human social setting, right? What skills a child on spectrum needs to develop to interact in the society, beginning from the family to friends to school to any other institute where he has to interact with people. It becomes challenging because humans require words. Human requires very clear intent,
Yeah,
outcome,
yeah.
etc. Right? But with animals, the child can practice the same social skills in a safe way. Why safe way? Because the animal is not going to be judgmental. So if the child is not able to speak, if the child is not able to word it out, or if the child has a impulse burst and suddenly grabs the dog, again the dog is not going to be judgmental.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, I was telling her, when we're coming there, there's this one kid who's with us on the spectrum, and she's an older kid, and she is a national level weightlifter. She's a powerlifting person. She's winning golds all over the. She yanks Rio's tail. Matlab, now that it's attached, so it's not going to come out. But the way she will stamp on his this thing sometimes, just out of fun. For her, it's fun. We have coached her, but she can yank, she can stamp. But this boy will not bother because he knows she's one of my.
Don't they feel the pain?
Exactly. That's where I was going to come. So, like, this may look very,
Yeah.
robust and violent, but if you have ever been with dogs, dogs have a very loose skin. Their skin is not like us,
Okay.
right? So, have you ever seen a dog being given an injection by the vet?
Yes,
They will
recently.
literally grab the fur,
Yes.
the skin. So they have an ample of loose skin and thick skin. So again, as therapists, when we are working and when we are training dogs, we both have to assess what is the level of tolerance for the dog. Okay, there is always a boundary where the welfare of the dog is 100% taken care of.
Yes.
At the same time, the need of the child is facilitated. So it doesn't mean that we'll let the child do whatever he wants with the dog. Okay, but there is a line where we have to understand that the dog is okay with this. So what will look like, say for example, like pulling the fur. Okay, dogs with loose skin will. That's why I keep on repeating that not all dogs can be therapy dogs. Especially dogs that work with children with autism or individuals with who are on the spectrum. They need to be qualified one level further. So we have two levels of training. One is the comfort dog training, where the dogs are merely like required to interact with people. It can be a corporate session or a visiting session here and there. But therapy dogs are dogs who are trained to a specialized level, who work with individuals with specific needs. Because their children can be impulsive, children can be loud, children can
They don't know boundaries. They don't know boundaries.
So the dog knows how to handle that
Himself,
situation.
yeah.
If the dog doesn't like a particular type of touch, or if there are children who seek that sensory sensitivity or that comfort by completely leaning onto the dog, putting their entire weight, right? So as therapists, we know that this is the boundary. That we don't let the child put their entire weight on the dog or sit on the dog for that matter, because for the welfare of the dog, we cannot allow that. But the dog here knows how to politely get out of that. And the dog is always given the scope to move around, to remove himself from a situation that he's not comfortable in. So at no point of time you will see that we are holding down the dog or we are making it
Never.
compulsory for the dog for interaction. Neither for
Of
the
course.
dog nor for the child.
Yeah, it has to be mutually comfortable
That is-
situation and
Exactly.
Consent.
Yeah.
Consent from both sides.
Consent is very important. It's a very big point that she has mentioned here.
Both sides.
That when we say that therapy animals are actively participating, willingly participating, it means that we have their consent to be here in this situation. They know what their role is and they know how to get out of it. And at no point of time will they be stopped if they don't want to participate in this. Right? So
Correct.
this is where the welfare of the animal also is taken care of. Right? So the therapy dogs are trained in that way. That if they want to move out of the situation, they know how to address that to the handler. So again, to give you a basic, as we have a therapist working with the dog, there is always a handler also with the therapy dog.
Yeah, is what I was going to ask you. Always there has to be a therapist along with the.
The therapist has to be there,
Animal.
but there also has to be a handler along with the dog.
Okay.
So the role of the handler is to focus only on the dog.
Okay.
For example, if I am the therapist and I'm working with Rio and say Akash as the handler, then my role would be to focus on the needs of the child. Okay, to facilitate the child. And Akash's role as a handler will be to focus on the dog.
Okay.
Because dogs or any animal will give very subtle signs if they are not comfortable. And if I'm working with the child, I may not always be aware of the dog's needs. Again, as a trained therapist, animal therapist, I will be trained in recognizing that. But when you're working as a team, these roles are divided. So the handler is at all times responsible for the well-being of the dog. Right? And my role as a therapist will be to facilitate the child in the interaction that I'm creating around the dog. Right? This is the best model of working in a setup. Right? As a counselor, when I'm working with an individual person,
that's what the flip side. Okay, we spoke about the animal. Now, what about the therapist and what about the handler? How does that training go? Because that is also very important.
Very important. Yes. So for therapist, you need to be an animal assisted therapist. You need to be a therapist first of any kinds.
Yeah.
That means you would need a master's and above degree in either counseling, clinical psychology, school therapist, special educator. No matter what your further qualification is, that is always an added advantage because that becomes your area of practice.
Correct.
Right? Besides counselors and special educators, speech therapist, physiotherapist, social workers, educators of all sorts. We currently have a dentist also who incorporates animals in her practice. Or
speech therapist, she was
speech therapist also incorporating animals. Physiotherapist incorporating rehabilitation therapist. So a lot of like post-operative physiotherapy or rehabilitation therapy that happens in a hospital. Even that is a place where animal therapy can be combined.
There's another doctor as well who is doing the course with you, right? So
yes.
Doctors, nurses, different.
So they have to do this additional course.
Yes. So after their masters and after their specialization, when they are in the practicing setup, is when they can take up this learning or this training of being an animal assisted intervention specialist, where they can incorporate what they are already doing with the presence of an animal, and then facilitate both together. Right? And for the handler, the handler need not be from the mental health background. Okay. The handler can be anyone who has expertise in dealing with animals. Okay. So we have a mixed group of even mental health professionals who are becoming handlers, because it's not just the awareness or the knowledge of being with animals, but also being with the kind of people that we work with.
Yeah.
So the handler also needs to be aware, if not an expert, in the special needs people that we deal with. Right? So the handler's position is also very specific and very skilled position. The handler doesn't mean just someone who holds the leash of the dog. The handler is an integral part of the therapy process, who is aware of how to incorporate the animal and facilitate the activities between the animal and the human. And be aware of the needs and welfare of the animal as well.
So that is also...
That's a different course. It's a different training program and certification that goes hand in hand. So it's always a dog and a handler that is trained together as a team.
Oh my God, this is an eye-opener. Believe me, I never knew about this. That's the reason I wanted y'all on board. This is the reason.